that in the near term, is so that we could, take those smaller sites and split up the middle schoolers to allow the capacity of those campuses. So we did present that, and we had at the board meeting some of the enrollment and capacity data that supported the fit and what would be required at those sites. So the board, while the board preferred this option, there's no action till October, and so that certainly still exists as an option for the interim housing.
And what about the variables, like how you make the decisions?
So, as I mentioned, the primary variable at the start was site size, and that eliminated several of the sites. And Edna, and leaving Edna and the middle school site as the ones that could come close to complying with middle school size and the expectations of the facilities that you have on a middle school site. So that was the one of the first lenses. I will say that your 2021 district-wide facilities master plan showed the middle school being replaced in its current location on top of this footprint. We widened that exploration beyond because of the feedback we had received once this process got started to not only expand beyond what the adopted master plan showed to multiple options on this site, but also to bring the other likely candidates at McGuire into the conversation. So again, I don't think it's a complete thought yet, but it certainly came in response to what the district had been hearing after the facilities master plan.
I saw some hands up over here. So if you go in the middle, we'll get right over there after. Hi, my name is Emily Maynard, parent in the community. First of all, thank you. I think at the June meeting, you mentioned sort of that you've been involved maybe probably in the Edna McGuire construction several years ago, or decision making. And as a parent there, I just want to say thank you. It's wonderful, and I think you did a great job, which gave me a lot of peace about this upcoming process. And I also just wanted to ask you, I've never heard anything about it, but could you explain or give us any detail about the gym facilities? I think we have some fantastic athletes in this community, and our current gym is extremely subpar. So I'm just curious what the new gym facilities might be looking like.
I'll let Laura answer the question, but my apologies if I said something that confused you. I wasn't part of Edna McGuire construction, just reviewing some of the stuff. Yeah.
So the three meetings that we show with the steering committee and the community, meetings 3, 4, and 5 are all about what we call building programming. And there is in your facilities master plan from 2021 a rough program of what the new facility should have in them. And by program, I mean a space list and approximate square footage. The first thing we're going to be doing is validating that and making sure that that is exactly what the middle school needs. And input like yours about the size and adequacy of the gymnasium facility, its meeting rooms or locker facilities, classrooms, collaboration spaces, somebody mentioned, is all part of that process before we even get to the pretty pictures, right? Is making sure we get that right. So I think having the representatives on the steering committee, not yet selected, we will also have in those same months site-based committees in the community meeting to provide the same information and the same opportunities. So if this turns out to be the right location to put an oversized gymnasium to accommodate the athletes or hard courts, that's where that input will come into the process. Yeah, thank you.
One more question over this side.
Hi, my name is Monica Patay, and I have students on third here at the school. And I just had a question about a slide, but no, it's not up there. It's the second one before the question and answer slide. It had no schedule for the next steps. We've talked about the February meeting a lot, but what's gonna be happening exactly at the October 13th board meeting? It says you're gonna choose site and you're gonna choose, the housing of the interim housing of the students. Does that mean you're gonna be choosing one of the options that night, or are you choosing to use interim housing or not? What's the actual, decision that's gonna be made in October?
The goal of the October meeting is the opportunity coming to the board is to choose which site, so based off the options right now, we'll be looking at the Edna or at the middle school site. And then from there, we will build, come back in February then to, show the approval conceptual design.
So it doesn't, I'm sorry, I missed it when I was trying to get the mic back. For the interim housing of the students, or is that being decided that night?
It's gonna be decided in terms of whether we're gonna move to a K-8 option for interim housing, so that's one of the things on the table, as well as which site we're gonna have the interim housing at, and also the middle school.
They can use for the decision, they can be more factors than what was presented tonight. That was my question, which was between now and then, it seems like there's a lot of information that we're not seeing. And if this is the meeting to give us that information so we can show prepared for that board meeting, I think we're waiting for more. I think that was also your point, which is when do we get the meat of the categories of factors, the cost, the environment, the engineering, the community, the learning environment? When do we see that? I think that's what we're curious about. Pardon me for interrupting and not using the microphone.
For those online, question was on when do we see the categories of the different factors that are being considered for this decision? If I summarize that.
Very good.
Let me revisit the construct for you, in terms of the community forums. When AECOM interviewed for this position, one of the things I said is we will not simply build buildings and hand over keys. That doesn't do anybody any good. And so, if there's an appearance of not having all the answers now, it's because we're starting with what are the questions, and these are helpful to us. We can interpret the data that we see right now and make informed decisions, which we've done. But as I said, if it warrants further investigation and slowing the process down and doing further investigations, and that's the direction I'm certainly we do that. But just at a high level right now, we think we know what the data is going to tell us. If the decisions are going to be made on what is the most economical way to build in the middle school and where is the most economical place to do it, we think we have that answer. If we need to investigate more qualitative data, and that's the direction that we're giving, and we will do that. But we just don't have that information yet. We're still developing what those questions are. I don't know if that helps you.
Can I jump in for a second?
Can I just make a quick comment to the people online?
Yeah.
To the people that are online that submitted questions, can you please resubmit your questions? Thank you.
I just wanted to add that part of, I think, and you guys have to correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding of why we're trying to narrow a decision, a preliminary decision, is so that we can do our full due diligence, and we're basing that on, many studies that will collect the data that we need to. We just didn't want to try to do that in two settings at once. So if this setting, which was originally in the facilities master plan, identified for the setting for the middle school. And I should also caution that we, in our measure G, we didn't talk about rebuilding or creating a new middle school. We talked about modernizing and improving priority 1 projects district-wide, inclusive of the middle school. So one of the challenges for us is what is the scope of that renovation? And, what's the tipping point where you say, you know what, we're gonna go ahead and build gyms anyway, because we think they're important for kids and they need to be modernized. So in our perspective, we are trying to make sure we avoid escalation costs. And because of the nature of the input and documentation we had to begin with, we're starting with our investigation here. I can tell you right now, if your kids aren't safe, the 5 ladies that I work for won't be approving any plan. There's just no way that is, I'm not gonna do that to kids. If it means that we have to stop and back up and do much, much less, that's what we're gonna do. And, you know, but we have to start somewhere. And if we admire, we are not gonna have consensus on this decision. I can tell you right now, I've been saying it since we started. People are not gonna agree on where to put the kids, and people are not gonna agree on how to do a 6-8 configuration. They're not going to agree. We will do the absolute best we can to make sure your children are educated by the absolute best people we can put in front of them, and we will engage their voices in trying to figure out what that looks like. But I guarantee you, we will not do anything that's not safe for kids. I won't be part of it, and I won't bring it to the board, and I don't believe any of these individuals will be part of it either. So I want you guys to understand that we're starting with what we were given. We believe that was what the community, you know, wanted or at least anticipated, and then as we vet things out, it is definitely seems to be the easiest place to start to rule it out if we need to, and then consider our next step.
Can you give her a microphone, please? The people online are complaining.
I think it might be helpful, right, Melissa Yeagle, parents who have current fourth grader, and then to put and repost the facilities master plan studies that were done in 2021, so that everyone in the community can reground themselves in all of the advanced work that has been done to get us to Measure G, the passage of the bond, and, you know, to meetings like this today. Yes, it may be on our website, but I think one of the things that we need to do additionally, and I will give the mic back, but you should never give it to, is perhaps to revisit that master plan, because that was made during COVID, right? You know, we're on the heels of COVID, and so participation wasn't what it is right now, which is why we're intentionally engaging people, you know, and so maybe it is kind of up to us to kind of regroup and say, this is where we started, because it is, I've been trying to wonder, like, how do you message? Like, I don't want to say we're building a new middle school, because I don't know if we are, and yet I don't want to say we're not, because I don't want to leave something on the table that is going to be better for kids that, you know, we limited ourselves with. So, all right, I'll stop talking.
Hi, my name's Nancy Cohen. I have a fourth grader and a kindergartner at Sam Valley School. I just wanted to clarify about the K-8 or the keeping the 6 to 8 together. Is that final? Like we're not going to do K-6, or we'll only do K-8 or 6 to 8? I just want to, do we get any input on that? It just doesn't make sense to me that we don't consider having K-6. That seems like a lot less temporary housing to build on each campus. It's one less year of disruption for those kids. It's keeping them in a environment that they're familiar with. And I can't even fathom the mitigation of construction traffic and workers and all that comes with having a full school in a temporary location. So is 6th grade on the elementary school campuses off the table, period? And/or do we get any say? Do we get,
it was presented at the September 13th board
I
meeting.
saw that, but it
Those
didn't off the table?
options, no, that is part of the action for October. It was, we mentioned the board wanted to keep 6-8 together. That was a straw poll, right? There wasn't an action item on the agenda, and that was the educational feedback and other influences outside of my pay grade as the architect, but that was one of the options was K-6, the K-8, and then the interim housing on the existing site option that kept the 6th through 8th graders together.
So do we get any, do the parents get to speak to what we think is best for our children, or is it just the board saying we think keeping the 6 to 8 is better?
Well, certainly the board meeting is an excellent spot for that.
Hi, excuse me. Hi, my name is Greg Moore. I have 2 kids that went to Old Mill, then went to middle school, then they went to high school. Now they're in college. I was the former Parks and Recs Commissioner for 2016 to 2022. And we looked at a lot of different construction things. We were involved in helping build the skate park. We built and redone a lot of the Friends field facilities, as well as the batting cage. And I know, in talking to some of the city folks, that they've offered to help out as far as like their staging. They built a community center. They've done, when we built that, the batting cage, we shut down for 6 months to have it used because if you went below 6 inches, you know, that was, you weren't allowed to do that. And the skate park was going to go up, we couldn't dig down, you know, we ran into a lot of environmental concerns. So I know the city's got a lot, and they built community centers, so I know the city has a lot of resources. I know they reached out, they've also offered staging opportunities here. So I would recommend tapping into that, to make sure that it's safe for everyone here.
And just to answer that question, we have had dialogue with the city, we've met with their staff, and we'll be continuing to do so as we go through the process.
Have a answer question yet? Hi, I'm Anita Sparks. I have two students that are in the water, the grader and my second grader. And I just wanted to know, on the October meeting, when a decision will be made on the site, based on what our superintendent commented, is the possibility still out there that this just gets a heavy remodel, avoiding potentially disrupting soils and having a true construction site? But is the possibility still out there that this site gets a modernization versus a full-on rebuild? And I just want to say, I was at that meeting in May 2021. It was me and another parent. It's the only two parents there.
So we can certainly, look at that. I will tell you, you know, that was not on our radar as we were brought on to work on the project because the state architect requirements have significantly changed. And the renovation, quite frankly, of this school will probably get close to or at replacement value. And I say that not because there's a certain stipulation, it's called an existing building regulation. And if you spend more than 50% of replacement value on renovating a school, you now have to bring the entire school up to current code from both a structural standpoint and all other pieces of things, which takes a lot of investigation and doesn't always for the money get you the feeling of what you're paying for in a new school. That does not mean it's out of the question. It just means that intuitively the level of renovation required will exceed that 50%, and then every trigger happens. And so some of the things that you can't fix in an older building won't get handled either. So when we came on board, it was for a replacement campus, but that doesn't mean we couldn't take that moment and do an evaluation of it inappropriate.
One more question up here, we are gonna move to the different online, but if you still are in the audience here in the room and have a question, just keep your hand up so I can see you, so that when we come back.
Hi, yes, thank you. My name is Joy too, and I have, seventh grader. So I was, interested following up on what you were saying, is that for this year, I totally appreciate what the superintendent said at one of our last meetings about how from a community perspective, to do the three grades together is an important long-term vision, but those three grades in the middle school are going to have a disruptive life, and it seems like for the 3 years of construction, it would be a simpler solution to have one grade that stays put at their own campus, extending it by 1 year from K-5 to K-6, and then find a home for the 7th and 8th graders, because they are already going to be disrupted. And so then the 6th graders would transition to the middle school, 7th graders in the new building. We're gonna actually just take a few questions from the online, participants, and then I have three more questions.
You good, Julio? Are we good? Okay. Mackie Davies says, I have 6th MVMS and 4th Edna kids. Edna was a pretty recent rebuild. What were key learnings the district had from that process? And what will be different about MVMS as a result? Edna was a pretty recent rebuild. What were key learnings the district had from that process? And what will be different about MVMS as a result?
I wasn't here during that in the process, but we're looking for a common layer experience to be able to help us navigate from the experience and line out the experience and the vast amount of projects that they've done. I wasn't personally here. We do have some staff members that have been here. They've been helping us with just different some learning lessons around that time to come up in meetings, but really we're looking at the experience of being like as an aid council get us through the process.
And Laura Vigiano. From Laura Vigiano, will the new MVMS building include a kitchen facility so a school lunch vendor can prepare healthy, fresh lunches on site?
I'm gonna leave that to the district to answer.
That'll be something that we evaluate during the process, one of those things that costs, and then also just our food service program, and I think that's one of the programmatic things that we'll evaluate at the time when we're making those decisions as far as the needs and wants of the school.
And I think one of the other issues with that is that when we did the measure totally, we did not hold for non-academic facilities, as I understand. So food services facilities weren't necessarily included in that. So it's something that we have to look at, as a system.
And Eric Halterman says, when we voted for Measure G, we voted for the bond to pay for repairs for leaky windows, HVAC upgrades, electrical upgrades, ADA upgrades, etc. When was it decided to remove and replace the MVMS? Are you considering to leave the existing MVMS campus and complete repairs consistent with what the taxpayers voted for? I don't remember voting for what you are proposing tonight.
So as part of our coming out of our facility master plan, we're voted on our priority one projects. As part of it, like Dr. Kaufman said, part of the priority one project was to rebuild this building at the middle school, as well as different funding, HVAC, just different aspects of the elementary school. So part of the priority one project that are listed on our website and the facility master plan is that we build in the middle school. The idea with this building was included as project.
It's also been commented on by several of our attendees that some of the responses from the panel are kind of fuzzy. So if you could maybe speak a little bit more clearly into the microphone, it'd be appreciated. Thank you.
Those projects are still going. Today's focus is Gordon Middle School. All those projects are still going on.
Yeah, we're gonna have some more questions.
My name's Tom Hawken, I'm a grade 6 student here at the middle school. And if this was addressed in the early stages of this, then forgive me, but I just would like to review the history of this district, just to get an understanding of the nature of the relationship and the scope of the relationship with Tom, just to get a full sort of appreciation for what the scope looks like in terms of design, build, and so on. So that was helpful.
Oh, yeah.
You're more conversant than I am in that.
Yes, thank you. So ECOM was brought on board to run our bond programming. That's day-to-day of our planning and management of our bond program to help us work with our consultants that we're bringing on, whether it be our architect, geotechnical, they're helping us to manage those services to bring forward the scopes of work and the implementation as well as finishing that work that needs to happen. As well as once we start the project, they're gonna be on the boots on the ground, working with our general contractors and our other vendors on site, working on the building of the project, managing that process, making sure that, they have an overview and everything of the day-to-day work that's happening.
The team you see here, plus Dr. Rollin and I, we are together like all the time, like several times a week right now. And so, you know, kind of lean on the big picture coordination and logistics with AECom and, you know, helping us find the people that we're gonna work with and outsource, but this group is way more together than I thought they would be when I met with them for the first time in July. So, and just, you know, for the record, I also want to comment that the other projects are continuing, the other priority one projects are continuing. Part of it is, part of our timeline in prioritizing the middle school because it's our largest project and those costs will escalate. And we want to be able to, you know, engage immediately in doing the large scale work that we need to. We are also having projects and architects set up for our other campuses. And we're looking at state funding and when and how that will flow into offset we have 194 million, but then we also have another 20 to 27, I believe, that can be coming in through state resources. So part of this is also figuring out the timeline to leverage the dollars.
Getting tired also. There's a question in the back. I want to make sure the government's clear.
Hi there, my name is Marcy Ford-Town, I'm a third grader, at Emma McGuire, and a kindergartner. I've heard a couple of references to the October and the February board meeting, and so can you just clarify, I'm trying to understand the process, A, what data is gonna be presented at those two meetings? And then B, what decisions are gonna be made at those two meetings that keep on getting referenced?
I think the decision at the October board meeting is going to be based on the data that's been presented thus far. And if there's some direction to gather more, then we do that. The February board meeting is actual site design, actual site selection. If it's on this school site, there's 3 options and development of the GMP from there.
Hi, I'm Jessica Newman. I have a 5th grader at Oma and a 6th grader here at MVMS. I just wanted to echo what some others have said about the community here at MVMS. We've had an amazing experience in the month that we've been here, and I think it's really important to keep the 6th or 8th graders here. I think the 6th graders need to benefit from all the teachers that are here and have the experience of kind of rising up to middle school after our middle school. Thanks.
I'm going to tackle the 6th grade question in a couple of different ways. One, you know, one of the conversations we had at the board meeting was that we aren't changing a program. Right now, our commitment is not to creating a K through 6 educational system that is a system that has, you know, there's no evidence base that would argue a K-6 is better than a 6 to 8. There is some evidence base that a self-selected to K through 8 is the better, but there is no data that says it's better for kids in 6th grade to be on one campus, one grade range than the other. Then, so we went from there to, can we equitably house all of our 6th graders at their home schools? And we can't do that without adding additional portables. And then we look at, we are running a comprehensive 7-period schedule in a very small middle school. typically middle schools are 800 to 1,000 kids, and even that, it makes it difficult to run a master schedule. So in order to make sure we can continue to offer the range of classes we offer and to deal with the credentials of the staff that we have without having to lay staff off or, hire new staff and, create a lot of other just short-term disruption, that's the argument for keeping a 6th grade, because we've already staffed for a 6th grade program. I can also tell you that anytime you look at restructuring schools, you ask the parents what they want, and they want their kids to stay at 6th grade. You ask the 5th graders or the 5th graders what they want to be in the middle school. And so, there's never, again, like many things in education, there's never a clear win. But I think that's the intent is really, we aren't going to be running a TK through 6 school district. We're going to be running a TK for 5 school district and a 6th grade middle school, because that's what the, generally what we believe and what, again, some people argue one way or the other, but we believe the community of bringing together 5 elementary schools to bring a nice, caring, nurturing 6th grade experience is super important to then place our students in this 7th and 8th grade program that prepares them to join other students from other communities that are unfamiliar to them when they go to high school. So it really is trying to create that Mill Valley community. This is where all of our students come together to move on to the high school district.
So that decision has indeed been made already, it's not being made at the October 12th meeting, is that correct?
I don't, the board hasn't acted on it. I think that it's definitely like when we discussed it, at the board meeting, we discussed the fact that we're not really interested in becoming a TK through 6 district like that. We want to, the integrity of our programs is what's driving our decisions. So we believe our 6th through 8th grade program is really outstanding. We believe it serves the needs of our students. So I'm not sure, and logistically and from a staffing perspective, I don't know what we would do if we needed to undo that, because we are building we have a 7th grade day with specifically credentialed teachers. So, if that were a big interest, we would have to do some significant restructuring. And I think that would need to be a conversation we had for the long term, not just for 3 years, because we would be laying off staff and hiring new staff, and it would be a lot of disruption overall. So the board would really want me to want to do that as an instructional model.
So, it's brilliant. I still just want to go back to the data, right? I've heard a lot, and thank you, by the way. I'm more than willing to trust the educators and the professionals about how our kids should be educated. I know my wife's a teacher, it's years and years of work. Completely trust that. But what I don't understand still is that some of the data that I've gotten from the district and from people here is not presented in that slide deck. And I want an explicit promise or something, some information from you that I would be able to read online or somehow learn about how these decisions are actually being made. And then the second part is on October 12th, the decision will be made. How do we voice our input before then? It doesn't feel like showing up on October 12th at the point at which clearly there's some meeting that's happening beforehand, meeting before the meeting, where people are actually making the decision. And it feels like it's too late for us. It's too late for us to come in and help out. Like, how do we make our voice heard now, aside from this, which we're not, in my opinion, not getting all the information we need. So explicitly, how can we get information that we really need before October 12th? How can we voice our input before October 12th?
I think initially I would say we were asked to be respecters of work that has been done, and there was a 2018 facility conditions assessment that was done extensive study on all facilities, which led to the development of the facility master plan that was in place. That was the basis for the passage of Measure G, and I want to make sure we respect that there was a Measure G that was a voter passage that was pretty specific as to what priority one projects were. And in that priority one project, it was contemplated in that amount that the middle school here. And so just being a respecter of that data that was there initially, and I'm not sure how they did the forums when that information was done in master plan, but certainly we acted with prudence to validate, was that recommendation, the appropriate recommendation, and with the information we have from that study, you know, that's the data we presented, is probably the most prudent method. So more studies between now and the board meeting could be done.
I'm not asking for more data, I'm asking for the data you have.
Yeah, and I'm just not looking for, we may have the facilities conditions section that we could cover.
That is, I believe that is also on our website already in our facility master. So the 2018 facility condition is on our website.
And it's great that you have it. I want to know how you took that into account to make your decision, right? You present it as with a library of information, but how you use it's important too. Do you understand? Thank you.
I think this team, and I'm being perfectly honest about my role, this team is taking what the 2018 and 2021 facilities master plan outlined for us. So normally we would get that master plan and we'd start designing the new school in the location that the master plan said that was built on the data from 2018 and 2021. The only reason we stepped up again and looked at a different location and looked at the end site was the input of the community. And so I think that we've taken a couple steps back in order to move us forward. If what you're saying is we need to take a couple more back in order to move forward, then we can talk with the district about the implications of that.
I just want to know, we're at 6:33, is it okay to continue? Or, okay. I saw, can we take 2 more questions? Or? Sure. Okay. There's one hand up there.
My name is Jeff Hamrick, 2 students at Old Mill. My first question is, can you please post online what decisions are to be made at the October board meeting versus what decisions have already been made or most likely made, such as we're not breaking up the 6th to 8th grade students? I think there's some confusion over what's being voted on and what's being presented. So I think a clear list of what is going to be decided at that meeting, and then what's going to be decided at the February meeting would be very helpful. And people knowing when and if they can still give feedback. My second question, if I may, is just, you said 2 years to finish construction. I've been in Mill Valley 10 years. I've never seen a construction project end on time across any building. What's your confidence interval that from when you break ground that the construction folks will be out of the school? I mean,
the reason, the wisdom of the district through the delivery process that we have is to try and take all the guesswork out of it early. As she's designing, there's a builder on board, has an extra set of eyes, thinking through things that could go wrong. From my experience, I will tell you, honestly, in 30 years, I've never had a project that used this type of delivery method. It went over budget or overstated. We anticipated everything we hold contingency. And, you know, when we sit down with a builder and we drill down on that schedule a little bit more, I'm going to tell you that relative confidence we're going to hit that date. Does that bother you at all?
We are gonna take one more question from over here, and then we are going to have to close. However, you can email if you still have questions. One, you can leave them on Post-it notes. We are documenting and collecting everything. And also you can email communications@nvschools.org, and we'll be collecting additional questions that way. So if you still have them, please make sure to leave them here or make send an email and then final questions.
This is not really a question, it's a comment that referred back to the question about lessons learned from Evan Choir. I'm one of the people in the room that was around at that time. But one of the lessons that I hope the district learned through that process is that building the location, orientation, and siting of buildings at the Edmund Choir site, solar installation was specifically in mind. However, when they got to the implementation process, they had to do some value engineering that resulted in a redesign of the roof structure that precluded the possibility of any future solar installation. So I think it's important, I hope the important lesson learned there is that we don't compromise on significant elements of the design for the other five elementary schools or this building, and that we anticipate what those additional costs may be ahead of construction. And the other comment has to do with the gentleman early on that asked about the disruptive nature for students in the educational process during construction. I was the principal at Old Mill School when the auditorium was torn down, the building was taken down to the studs, and we carried on school through that whole construction process. My office was on the front yard. We put up inspection portholes in the plywood interior corridors. The teachers integrated the construction process into the students' learning experience during that year. The students kept journals, they took pictures, they interviewed construction crews. It all became a very important part of their life and the whole Old Mill School family life. There was a real investment of the families in what was happening at Old Mill School. And they felt the school became a real part of it. They became a very different part of the school. So I think, it's making, somebody said, lemonade out of lemons or whatever, but there are real opportunities here for the community to grow together. And I hope that the district is able to take advantage of that and not end up being a divisive experience for the school district. Good luck. But it is great thing. I mean, someone at the other side, everyone will feel so proud and so happy about what this community has been able to accomplish.
Thank you. On that, I'm going to give the mic to Dr. Patrick. First of all, thank you all for coming. I had no idea this is the work I was going to be doing when I came to Mill Valley. I saw that you had a nice, huge bond measure, but I didn't know the time of it and how much work was going to be started. So I want to, first of all, thank our community and thank you all for showing up. You will learn about me that I'm not going to ask you things that I won't really be able to change. I'm not going to pull you on things that I don't think the community is going to change or the board will change or that I would recommend changing. So, there will be times where we will have conversations at the board level and staff recommendations will come to the board based on what we as the educators in the system believe are in the best interest of students. It would be disingenuous for me to create a process where I was going to ask you for the input that I wasn't going to listen to. So I think, I want to be as upfront as I can when I'm going to come with recommendations on behalf of the educational team that will reflect, what research I know, what research, is available elsewhere, and really the hearts and minds of our staff who are implementing the programs for us. So I want to be 100% transparent about that. And also, questions some of you are asking are like a different language to me because I live in education. So if there are things that we're not hearing, like when I don't feel like I'm hearing how to answer your questions, feel free to email me, feel free to email Sid. We will try to get the answers back. I do feel like maybe there's a need to maybe create a little video of our facilities master plan and push it out. I don't know that we want another meeting around facilities master plan, but we certainly can. So I want to make sure that to email questions. We will do our best to answer. We are not trying to be bureaucrats in this process, but I also can 100% guarantee there's not going to be consensus if I pulled everyone for everything. So I'm going to do what I think is in the best economic interest of the district and the best academic interest of the children, and I will provide support. I inform my 5 bosses in that regard. So anyway, nice to meet you all.